Alright.
Love you.
I love you.
Yay. Hey everyone, thanks
Hey,
for
guys.
joining us today. I am not your average Joe. What are you going by now?
I don't know.
You don't know? Just
Your
going
wife.
with this is my really not average wife. She's awesome. And today we're gonna be doing some responses to the reviews that I received for the story of Saiyan Tail, Dragon Ball Z Fairy Tale crossover. In case you haven't checked it out, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And last time I did just chapter 1. This time I'm going to do chapter 2 and 3. And I thought it might be a little more fun if I had some help. So, and since Becca has actually helped me in doing the writing and the editing and everything, actually coming up with some of the original characters and all that, I figured she's probably the best option. So thank you for doing that. So let's see. We're starting with chapter 2 stuff. We're going to be going from oldest to newest. And the first one we have is from Warlord Fellhammer.
Alright.
And Becca's going to be reading the reviews for me.
Alright. So, well, I do have one complaint. I'm not there to meet the little dragonette.
Okay, so that's in response to the fact that I announced that my wife and I we had our daughter this about almost a month ago now, isn't it?
Almost, yeah.
Oh
It's
my
crazy.
goodness. Which would explain why
Gone by
my
real
writing has
fast.
gone my writing has gone down a little bit, why it's a little slower, but it's been awesome. You can check out another series that I'm starting to do called Unplanned Parenthood. I'm just going to be doing little tips and tricks that I pick up and some unexpected surprises included. Mostly for dads, but also for moms as much as I'm able, just like the things that you don't expect when you have a child.
Alright, so the next one's from Saiyan. So, so much mellow time, nothing too serious besides the kids smashing the Twilight ogre thugs. It's cool. It's cool of this to have been a bit of a time skip to establish the kid as part of Fairy Tale before going to Tenro Island to look for the remaining members of the guild and bonding afterward. I can't read apparently.
No, it's a little there's a little grammar error in that, I think.
Okay, I was like,
It's not just I was reading along with that. I'm like,
Okay,
that's not just you.
alright, good. Alright, so I have two complaints though. First, why is the Saiyan kind of
Nerfed.
nerfed? I don't know what that means. I know Guild Arts is very strong, but how is he on Super Saiyan 2 levels of power? I know I called him OP previously, but just don't see it. At least this tells me that the kid cannot go past the basic Super Saiyan form yet, which is a good thing to keep him from being too overpowered.
Yeah.
And second, the way you're treating Kana reminds me too much of how you treated Tharja in Fire Sword. I don't even remember who that is. Where you wrote
She's a really creepy stalker.
where you wrote her out of the story just because you didn't like her and made her so completely out of character to justify it. Omakis are still annoying, by the way.
Okay. So that's not all of the review, but I'll go ahead and answer what part of that.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, should we just get the whole thing out of the way?
Okay, yeah. Hope to see more action in the next chapter and the kid getting some training and sparring in with the other hyper competitive Fairy Tales members, as well as Kana getting better treated than how you did here. And this was unfair for her, especially since Mira Jane and Lucy are more fan servicey without showing skin, true, than Kana, who's dressed like post-time skip Nami from One Piece, who is much more vain than her. But anyway, keep it up, man. And again, watch your health and take good care of that kid of yours.
Okay, so I like Simon a lot. He leaves really long reviews and he's not afraid to hold back. And there's a lot for me to go over in there. So I'll start with the Guild Arts thing and you saying how I nerfed Goron. I didn't, and
What does that mean?
it basically means like you don't shoot someone with a Nerf gun when they're pointing a real gun at you.
Okay.
So like basically it's implying that he's a lot weaker than he should be.
Gotcha.
At least that's my understanding of it. I could be taking that out of context, but I'm going to go with that because that just makes the most sense to me. So in the first chapter, Simon raised the point that raised the concern that that Goron was going to be too overpowered, right? And I've established kind of how he's going to progress with you, right, and stuff. So the reason he was concerned about that is because I let it slip in a preview of a chapter that's going to be a few more on, that eventually he will attain Super Saiyan 3, and Simon made the assumption that, well, if he's Super Saiyan 3, he can automatically just nuke Acnologia with one shot. That's not true, and this ties into what I was saying about Gildar's being on level Super Saiyan 2. Super Saiyan is a power multiplier. It is not an automatic. It's not like I turn Super Saiyan and I'm automatically go from here to here. It's like the first level is a times 50 power multiplier. So if I'm down here, I'm gonna end up here, right? So and then Super Saiyan 2 is double that, so it makes it 100 times stronger than the base form. Now, Goron on his base form is about as strong as Natsu, maybe actually a little weaker. And we see when Natsu fights Gildarts during his Tenro trial that when Natsu pushes Gildarts and he's like, no, I still want to fight you, I want to beat you. If I don't beat you, there's no point to this. Gildarts says, all right, and he basically flexes and terrifies the crap out of Natsu, who has gone up against Dark Wizards, Wizard Saints, and people that are so much stronger than he is without even thinking twice about it. But Gildarts was so strong that it just didn't even occur. It occurred to him briefly to fight back, but eventually he realized that that was suicide. So if Gildarts is that much stronger to the point where he would terrify Natsu, one of the most thick-headed people in the show, I think that's a pretty strong indicator of the fact that he would be a really tough nut to crack. And I do honestly think that Goron at his base form would need to go to Super Saiyan 2 in order to beat him as he is. Now, later on, post Second Origin unlock and all that, it might be a different story, but we'll see that later on. Let's see. In regards to how I treated Kana, you're taking the whole thing at face value is what I'm going to say. I always have a plan for characters, and I don't dislike Kana. Let me say that right now. I think she has a lot of potential, but Hiromashima wasted it on cheap booze and flirty and tsundere basically. He turned her into a tsundere character when she had potential to be a lot more than just the angry drunk that strips half naked to get attention. I mean, to me, that seems like a waste. I mean, like, her backstory sucks. I mean, her mom died when she was like 4, I think, or 3.
She was little.
She was little. Okay. Anybody that's watching this and reading these responses, they know what's up. But okay, spoilers. Her story had the makings of sorry, let me rephrase that. It had the potential to make a great character. Like I said, she had a mother who died young. She thought that her father was dead originally, as kind of implied, but then she finds out he's alive. And when she finally goes to find him and he meets her, he barely gives her a second thought. And she doesn't really know what to make of that. And as time goes on, she's more and more afraid of admitting to her who she is. Well, he doesn't know who she is, but it was on her that she didn't tell him. What really hits insult to injury for her, though, I think, is that she watches that I think she knows that he loves kids, and on some level she knew that he would have accepted her. But of course there's always that irrational fear of rejection. But she watched him like almost be a dad to Natsu. And he got along well with a lot of the other kids in the guild, and she just kind of kept her distance, interacted with him a little bit. He wished her luck when she was going to her S trial class the first time, and she failed that. But like her interactions with him were very minimal. And when she finally did, there was a really sweet moment between her and Gildarts. I really love that, and maybe I'm a sucker for that.
I'm also bummed that it ended there, that she didn't continue to be
See, that's where we're getting into my that's where we're getting into my treatment of her. It annoyed the crap out of me that she didn't even give Gildarts a chance to be the dad that he wanted to be. So
yeah, I mean, you can't really blame her for that.
Okay, like I can a little bit, but clearly the storyboard isn't always 100% and final decisions do fall to me, but mostly what I did in the second chapter was try to highlight my annoyances with her about her character, and in doing so I want to start illustrating the changes that are going to be starting made to her character as the story progresses, because as I said before, I don't dislike Kana. I think she has great potential, and I aim to change that. That's the only reason I do fan fictions is because I see something wrong with a story that could be fixed. And Kana's character is definitely one of those things. So I don't dislike her. I want to fix her, for lack of a better term. As for hoping to see more action in the next chapter, you will definitely be getting action in Chapter 3, which I guess we'll be covering here in a minute. And thanks for the shout-out about keeping good health and stuff. I really appreciate that. That has been a little bit of a concern of ours, but and our kid's doing great, by the way. She's mostly happy, mostly healthy.
Yeah, mostly. She kept us up all night last night. Which is good for the most part.
So if I'm rambling a bit, it's because
we're tired.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right. Joe
Does that cover
Clone,
everything?
I think so. He talked about power levels.
Let's see. Oh, and the fan
And
service thing.
the fan service.
Okay, so mostly, okay, so yeah, I'll agree with you on Mira Jane. That kind of annoys me about her, but she's kind of a background character, so I don't really care too much. And Lucy, it's usually the writer being a perv or whatever, or if his excuse is comedic relief, then fine. I don't agree with it, and I'm gonna try and cut that out as much as possible because it gets on my nerves, quite honestly. And as I illustrated
it's
with
less part of their personality, though.
yeah, that's what I'm
Hana,
trying to say.
They make it. She's too much of a flat character for most of the show, and then all of a sudden you get this depth. But
Then what do you do with it?
yeah, they don't do anything with it, and then all of a sudden she's a background character again. Which, I mean, I'm not a huge Mira Jane fan, so I don't care that she's a background character. With Kana, I like Kana a lot, so I'm excited to see what you do with her.
Okay.
All right, so Joe Clone says,
Hey. Good name.
Okay, now I'm going to get into some familiar territory with Natsu and the rest coming into the picture. Can't wait to see Natsu versus Goran brawl. So, at what point in Fairy Tail does this take place? The Kana scene was funny as heck, and I like the positive.
Someone liked it.
On. How much longer will that last? I bet not long at all. By the way, I just saw your video on YouTube, and yes, I want to catch these anime. Like I said in the comments, GGO and MHA took my attention.
So Gun Gale Online, My Hero Academia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Took my attention at the moment.
We'll be looking forward to next month. Now, back to making this website for my final project this semester.
Well, I hope that website turned out well, man. Okay, so I'm glad you're getting into some familiar territory because you had mentioned that you weren't sure where exactly this was going to be landing. So the first chapter takes place a year and a half before the Tenro Island team is retrieved, and the second chapter takes place during the episode where we see that the guild is in shambles. There's really not much left for them, and until Blue Pegasus shows up and is like, "Hey, by the way, Tenor Island's still around." And then they go out and they find them and they bring back the S-class wizards and candidates. And that was kind of a surprise. I have to say, when I originally watched it, that was a surprising episode. When I was like, "Wait, what? They skipped 7 years?" Although, to be fair, this was actually like the first anime that I saw where they did that massive of a time skip, so it was kind of a surprise for me. But so I kind of wanted to like land Goran in the middle, like not in the middle, but a little bit more towards the end, about a year and a half before that, to like establish that he's been with them for a while, even if it's not been as long as these guys. But I'm glad somebody liked the Kana thing because I tried to I knew it was probably going to receive some backlash because I know that she is a somewhat popular character. But I tried to end it on a note that kind of leaves it open for further development.
That was a very Joseph move. Gotta expect it from him. All right, is that about it? All right.
Yeah, My Hero Academia is awesome, by the way.
I love that show, and the new season's out, and I still haven't seen the new
when I was first coming up with Goran and stuff, it was actually a toss-up between whether or not I would interpose him into the Fairy Tail world or My Hero Academia, and I may eventually do My Hero Academia, but I'm starting to think that I might do it with a different character.
I also want that show to develop a little more.
Yeah. That's the tricky thing with.
We don't have a lot of material to work.
See, I know how Fairy Tail ends and everything. I know everything that happens in the anime. I know the gist of what happens in the manga stuff that hasn't happened in the anime yet. To know I can know how to alter certain events and then have them come back around to important points. But with My Hero Academia, I don't know how to do that yet. Which is one of the reasons I decided I probably better go with Fairy Tail first.
Yeah, we gotta understand that universe a little more first. All right, Jamie via 2001. Awesome story. When you get the update, when will you update though? I know around next month, but do you have a specific date? Also, please make the story Nalu. They're one of my OTPs.
I think that means. Of course. Okay, so most of the pairings are going to be most of the pairings are going to be canon compliant. Obviously, Kinana and Eric or Cobra, as we know him, that's not going to happen. Although her history with Eric will make for some interesting dialogue later on as she starts to figure it out. But I won't give too much away about that now.
Can we just accept that there's not enough platonic relationships that in anime?
in TV shows in general.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to for Goran and Kinana, I kind of wanted to go with just a chill relationship that's Yes, they like each other. That's like they wanted to do the dating thing, so they did it, and didn't need to be a super complicated drama of figuring out does one like the other. They just kind of were chill about it.
Yeah, but what I mean is there's not enough like non-romantic love relationships.
Oh,
in,
okay.
in like I mean especially in Western storytelling, but a little bit with anime too.
Hmm.
Like it's either you're in love or you're not.
I have to say though, fairy tale, you can't say that too much because it's kind of a mix of both.
That's
Like
true.
think about it. Obviously, Lucy and Natsu are supposed to end up together.
But the
Jalal and
majority of
Urza
their relationship
is I would say is very platonic.
Yeah.
Natsu and Urza don't have any romantic interest toward each other. Urza like Gray kind of crushes on Urza at some points, but like for the most part, the relationship is very platonic. They are comrades in arms before anything else.
Yeah.
And
no, I think Fairy Tale does that very well, more so than other shows.
like, what's a show that doesn't do platonics very well? I'm trying to think.
Well, clearly, My Hero Academia. There's like lots of crushing going on.
Well, there's lots of crushing going on, but they haven't acted on it yet.
No,
So.
but it's still they want you going for that romantic
that's
thing.
true.
Let me think. What are other shows? Noragami.
Noragami, yep, that's
There's
true.
like it's clear that it's not going to work out well for them, but
they still want you to root for it anyways.
Yep.
This is true. This is true.
What else? What other shows are there? My brain is gone.
Last Airbender.
Last Airbender. Okay, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, I make that argument very weakly because I'm very hesitant to criticize that show because I love that show.
That show so much.
But for the most part, they do establish that they're friends before anything else. But of course, the whole 3 seasons where they're kind of angling towards Aang and Katara, and then
it was originally intended for Katara and Zuko.
Yeah, but it was ambiguous enough in the first season that it didn't matter.
Thankfully, but like I mean, there's moments where you're like, be a romantic thing, and then
which they make fun of in the Emperor Island.
Yes,
I love that.
Wonderful, I love it. But then in the comics, then you have all of the drama with girls with Zuko, which is like
that sucked. And then Sokka dated Suki, and then he also dated Yue.
Yeah, but Suki is like, but the thing is, they don't write Suki very well, I don't think, in the comics.
I don't think it's just written, in the comics, okay.
It's unclear whether she's caring for Zuko as a friend or if she's, like, having feelings for him. And that stressed me out and got me really mad, which is, like, more reason for me not to like Suki. But... I
love Sokka too. I still don't dislike Suki. But that's a conversation for another video.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, tangent.
So the question on that one, not really relevant because I've already released chapter 3 and we're going to be covering that later in this video.
But how frequently are you going to be?
I'm trying to do once a month, once every 3 weeks, something like that. I have several chapters written in advance in case I'm sick or stuff catches up to me.
Alright. Paulo Kirito, great chapter. Can't wait for the next.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then Saiyan God 101. Great chappy. I wonder what Goran stole. If it ain't the time rings, could it possibly be a scroll? Who knows? However, I do have to agree with Simon regarding Kana. She may be a flirty drunk, probably insecure, definitely tsundere when it comes to guild arts. Haha. But I don't think she is as vain as you made her out to be here. Goran comes off a bit prude here, especially since Lucy wears pretty revealing clothing, almost more so than Kana, I agree, and always ends up naked at some point. Not her fault, but heck, Urza doesn't know the meaning of modesty. She doesn't wear knickers.
I didn't know that.
Anyway, fun chappy. I liked it.
I'm glad you liked the chapter, and since it's been brought up twice, okay, I'm trying to think of how I'm supposed to phrase my response to this. Okay, I think Kana is incredibly vain, honestly. Lucy is definitely vain as well, but she usually does it in a more joking manner.
She's also a ditz.
This is true. This is true.
She's stupid.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why Natsu and Lozano wouldn't work out, because Natsu needs someone who's a little bit dumbed down.
But he does raise a good point. Why wouldn't Warren call Lucy out for being like that?
Because she wasn't underdressed when he first saw her. And to this point up, he hasn't seen her like underdressed.
Nah.
If he does see it, he will call it out.
Okay.
And I try really hard not to make my characters into Gary Stews. Goran is probably the closest I've made to a Gary Stew, and I gotta give him some kind of flaw. I would say his most major flaw is probably the fact that he tends to stick his nose in other people's business.
And he's very overcritical of other people.
Yes. He means well. He's not doing it to be an ass, but he's doing it because he's going with the mentality that if you have the emblem of Fairy Tail, you're a family member, and he doesn't want to see his family members disregarding themselves or giving themselves less credit than they deserve.
It's very opinionated. There's one similarity to Mataris.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, there's but like, well, Mataris would straight up be a savage about it.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like
that's a big
he
difference.
tried to be tactful about it at first, and then he kind of lost his temper.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mataris would have straight up
just
been blunt and.
he would have probably thrown her overboard if she annoyed him.
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah, and the Omaki, Mataris is talking to Gordon, and he's like, "Why didn't you just Kamehameha her?" And he's like, "Do you want Gildarts to blow me up?" But I'm glad you enjoyed the chapter, dude. I did too. I had a lot of fun with these. So last one for this,
I don't even know.
Majinlitis.
Great chapter, mate. And I annoy my OCs by doing the same thing you did with Corin.
So okay, so I'm feeling some pretty mixed. So for chapter 2, I'm feeling some pretty mixed signals about the whole Goron versus Kana thing. But I'm gonna stick by what I did because I'm too lazy to go back and write it, and I like what I did anyways.
All right, so for chapter 3, we have 3 comments so far.
Okay.
So Saiyan God 101, that was a great chapter. I liked it. Good on Goran just for going for it. This does make me wonder what's going to happen when he meets Cobra, though. I'm curious.
I can't really comment too much on that without giving anything away.
See, I don't know this either, so
And like I was saying earlier, yes, I'm glad I made Gordon go for it with Kinana too, because I don't care for drama.
Yeah, and we have enough long, drawn out on and off relationships in the show. So.
Yes, you Lucy.
All right, Joe Clone. I love how much fluff is in this chapter. It helped by how chivalrous Goran is to Kinana. Speaking of which, Kinana used Gallic gun.
That's Vegeta's move.
Okay. I bet the Natsu versus Goran fight is in the next chapter, and you can bet I'll be there for Red Swordsman. How will the story go on without Asuna?
Okay, so actually, I'll be happy to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we're writing a different.
Okay. I actually just released that chapter a few days ago too.
Cool.
So I'm glad that this is like the most fluffy chapter I've ever done probably because it was focused. And this is probably the only time we've used where it is a chapter mostly focused on a pair's relationship in a romantic sense. Typically, I eschew that, but I felt it was appropriate in this sense because they're going to a magic ball. I mean, the show is called Fairy Tail, and I mean, they all fall in love with in the fairy tales. They all fall in love with the balls, right?
That episode's totally a filler episode.
Yeah, it's not in the manga.
Oh, it's not.
No, but I thought it was for the most part, I'm not going to do stuff
ridiculous.
for the most part, I'm not going to do stuff that isn't in the manga. But another reason I did the chapter was because I wanted a chance to integrate Goran with Fairy Tail a little more in terms of going on a job with them, and this chapter seemed like a good one to do with that. Let's see. And yes, like I was saying earlier, for the most part, I tried to make Goran a very likable character as opposed to Mataris, who you're supposed to dislike him because he's a giant ass. Let's see. Kinana used Galagun, so yeah, I decided that. So it is revealed in the manga that Kinana does have magic. After this is, I don't know if you haven't read the manga, then this might be a little bit of a spoiler. But after Fairy Tail gets back together, it's been revealed that Kinana does have some degree of magic power, but they never actually specify what she does. So I decided Goran would be able to sense that she has magic in her, even if it's a very small amount, and he would be able to help develop it because that's part of it. As much as he hates his Saiyan heritage to a degree, he's still Saiyan, and that's part of his nature to want to train and get better. And if he's just close to somebody as he is to Kinana, he would like to see them improve as well. And she's not against it. She clearly learned the magic that he uses to some degree. To what degree that is yet, I'm not going to say. You just have to wait for the next chapters. But I think it's going to be fun and funny. Some of the things she does. And
I enjoy that chapter.
Let's see. And yes, the Natsu versus Goran fight is next chapter, and I'll be releasing that in about a week or so. I think it would be a good time to let it out. I'm not working as much this next week, so hopefully I'll be able to crank out another couple of chapters. Maybe for Shattered Fragment, maybe for this. We'll see what I feel like doing. And speaking of Red
Depending on
Swordsman,
how much we sleep.
yeah, there's that too. So how will this? So a little bit of a side off into the Shattered Fragment. How will the story go on without Asuna? Difficult is how it's gonna go. Is gonna go on. It's definitely. There's not very many fan stories out there where Asuna gets killed off. Usually people have her survive even if she doesn't end up with Kirizo for whatever reason.
Surprising choice.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this story different from the other two versions that I've done because the Ironclad arcs were the same in both the Bionicle and the Fairy Tail crossover that I did with Sword Art Online, and I wanted to really push on the limits of these characters, like in terms of what their minds can handle, like how much can they take before one of them breaks, and it's probably going to be Matara's first, given how he's like kind of already unstable.
Yeah.
One of the things that I kind of like, what I really like about Shattered Fragment is that we get to see him when he's stable first. Like in my other stories, we never have. This is the first time I've ever actually written him as a stable character, fan fiction or in my own novels. He's always been an insane lunatic who is incredibly violent and doesn't afraid to use violence to get what he wants. He's more hesitant about it now, but you can kind of see like the cracks are forming and more of his darker tendencies are starting to emerge. But with the help of his friends and sister, he is able to keep them in check. But it's only a matter of time before things get to be too much for him, though. So, and that's something else that like makes him different from Goran, I think, is that he's not as willing to accept help from other people.
No.
Whereas Goran's definitely an independent person, but he doesn't have a problem teaming up with other people, or like if he's pushed enough by somebody that he respects or cares about, he will change his stance on something.
They're both opinionated, but Mataris is stubborn and lacks empathy, whereas Goran is much more of a human being.
Well, I think he acts. I think he's a bit of a prude because of his empathy to a degree. Like he cares enough that he doesn't like what he sees, and he would like it to change. But he's not exactly. Doesn't exactly go about it the right way the whole time. Let's see.
Right.
So last one, Major Lightus again.
All right, great chapter, mate. I also have my own fairy tale story.
Well, I'm gonna have to check that out. All right, so that's all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope that answers any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys had. If you want to see your own questions reviewed, answered, we're tired.
Yeah.
I can barely speak my native language anymore. I forgot how to English.
Yeah.
But thank you all for joining us. I hope we were able to answer your questions sufficiently. Please leave a message down below, like and subscribe. Get in touch with us if you have any other questions that you want answered. And then we'll see you next time.